Well, Cronier's exit from the NPA's investigating directorate has tongues wagging. Why? Well, the NPA looks set to give us reasons at a planned press briefing in the next hour. Groups like Accountability Now are pushing for the NPA to win big political cases, while others like Lawyers for the Families of Slain Activists, the Craddock Four, are upset the NPA recently missed a deadline to update them on their case. So what's going on? Well, we've asked the retired deputy head of the NPA, JJ Toit, to chat to us this morning and help us make sense of it all. JJ, thank you so much for joining us. You were with the NPA for a long time as one of the deputy DPPs, NDPPs, and you know the machinations of working in a big corporate, essentially like the NPA. How politically difficult is it to operate in that environment?
Good morning, and again, and to all your viewers. You know, I think one should start with the premise that we are lawyers, we're not politicians. But unfortunately, we also work in a political environment, and you will always have, as a prosecutor, even especially if you're at the high echelons of power like Cronier and Batohiis, that you surely will have politicians or any other person that try to influence you to make a decision this way or that way. Well, that is life. That's the life of a prosecutor. But I think at the end of the day, you know, you must resist any political pressure on you to make a decision either to prosecute or not to prosecute. You know, I think experience has taught us that, as I said, at the end of the day, you know, you can be the best prosecutor in the world, but if you don't have the evidence and you don't have the support of a good investigation team to assist you, you can just do nothing. And you should not, never prosecute too fast. Look what happened, for example, in Bloemfontein a few years ago when the NPA decided to prosecute. And then at the end, it was egg in their face and they had to withdraw that indictment. And then when Advocate Cronier came on board, it was a much better system. You know, the indictments were filed against the Guptas and others, and there's no case against it. So at the end of the day, yes, you will always have political influence, but you must stand firm and tall and apply the law.
JJ, how frustrating is it to be working in a hollowed-out NPA where you're relying on the hawks for strong evidence, forensic auditors, of which there are very few, and they're having to be brought in on a freelance basis? There's so many moving parts in a corruption case that need intense attention to detail. Otherwise, as you say, like the Freda Dairy case, it's going to be thrown out of court.
Yeah, you're so right. You know, I've got great sympathy for Advocate Cronier. You know, she's a very professional person, and you know, at the end of the day, you can just do so much. I think if you speak to her, you will know that she burned the midnight oil for many days, and you're just a human at the end of the day. You can just do so much, and you're under so much pressure to do X or to do Y, and you have limited resources. You know, I also worked at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia in Hague. And when we started that court, it was similar like what Cronier had to go through with her investigative directorate. You know, people can talk about nice words, human rights. You know, we must really, assist in getting these people to court and et cetera. But they really want you to bleed to death. And if it wasn't for example, for Judge Goldstone at that early days in 1995 to say, we're not going to go under. You know, we need resources. We need money to get this thing going. And at the end of the day, you can just do so much. I sometimes compare it even with, you know, where you're building a house. You know, they ask me, JJ, will you build this house? I say, with pleasure, I will do it. But I need bricks. I need cement. I need people. And then after a month, they ask you, but how's it going? I said, but when do I get my cement? When do I get my bricks? No, it looks like you cannot do the job, you know. So it is a difficult issue. And, you know, you're under scrutiny, rightly so, because you're a public official. But at the end of the day, you're only a human being.
JJ, how much support is needed from other government agencies, such as the Justice Department and Foreign Affairs, to get mutual legal assistance, to get extradition treaties in line? I'm thinking about the Guptas and the UAE. You need cooperation, surely, from those other agencies. And if they're not helping out or being competent, you're also stuck.
Yeah, you're so true. You know, at the end of the day, you cannot, you need, especially when you deal with extraditions or a case like the investigative director, you need the political support. And I know when I was in the NPA, there was a lot of talk that we should have our own budget. Because at the end of the day, we must go and beg with the Department of Justice to get money in for us to work independently. Now, we're an independent organ. Advocate Batohiis said it many, many times, but I think they should start to trust us to give us our own independent budget so that we can plan ahead, because without money and resources, a lot of times you can do nothing. And there's a huge responsibility on the President and the Minister of Justice to support us. It's not just easy to say, no, we must do this and this and this, but at the end, they let you bleed to death. And we need, even now, we need the support of the Minister of Justice and the President to assist the NPA to go through this very, very difficult period, because it's a huge setback for Cronier to have resigned. And we should look to the future and learn from the lessons and the mistakes that we've made and get this thing going. And also for the Minister for the extraditions. When I worked with Judge Goldstein, when we worked internationally, he would go to governments, he would talk to governments to get that political support for them to, for example, to assist with extradition or mutual legal assistance and that. And I think you don't do it for every case, surely. But I think in instances like, for example, the Guptas, we need much more political support from our Minister of Justice in order to assist us to get that people arrested and that. Because at the end of the day, it's also political, although it's mainly legal, but you need political support in order to achieve your work.
JJ, would it be fair to say that in the current dispensation, the political pressure or the political undertone is really about a lack of support rather than internal pressure not to prosecute?
It's a good question. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a politician, but unfortunately, you work in that environment. And I think if we can get, you will hear now from Advocate Toit and also Advocate Cronier maybe as to what were the reasons why this has happened. And I can tell you, I know Advocate Cronier, I just met her once, but she's a very competent woman. And, I think you have your frustrations and then one day you just say, no, I had enough. And so I think we should support, we should really now make the pitch that that unit be fully resourced. And, as you probably know, Accountability Now has also talked about whether we should have this unit or we should rather have a Chapter 9 institution where, in line with the Glenister Court decision. I think it's now the opportune time to review what we're doing, to look to the future, because, we've been, the crimes that's been committed and the amount of corruption is just tremendous. You're just dealing with one case and then you think, now I've got it settled. Now I can do my case. I've got this time limit to do it. And then a lot of new cases just come into your office because of new corruption, which the President said it will never happen again. But what is the reality? The reality in life is that these cases just continue to happen. And, even after the Zondo report that will be out the end of this month, I can tell you there will be tremendous pressure on the NPA to produce and to prosecute those people that Judge Zondo may recommend in his report. So if we don't have our act in order now, we're going to have even more problems in the future.
Thank you so much for sharing that institutional knowledge and insight with us. Former retired Deputy Head of the NPA, JJ du Toit, thank you so much again for your time.